Hi everyone, Mark here from McKenzie Meats. Just a quick wash up of our recent North Coast 500 adventure that Donna and I undertook. Just a couple of thoughts and discussion points, just to kind of give anybody any advice that thinks they're going to do it. So straight off, we hired from a company called Lux Motorhomes. They're based in Bathgate. I'll put the link down below. We rented a Fiat Torino S, which is a conversion van, an adventure van as they call it. Shower, toilet, fridge, cooking facilities, double bed and seating area. Two berth, but I believe they do up to six berth as well, so and a few varieties in between. We paid extra for the linen package. It was, I mean, everything came clean, freshly laundered, duvet, pillows, sheets for the bed, towels, hand towels, etc. So, no, definitely worth it, and cheaper, or not not cheaper, but probably the same price as booking hotel rooms all the way around. Uh, we had done that. We booked rooms and then decided that we were going to try and do the camper van motorhome kind of tour, and we looked into it. And to be fair, the price was pretty much comparative. So we just leap of faith and done it. Uh, yeah, so Lux Motorhomes. Uh, Van was excellent. Not brand new, but it was certainly not old. I think it was a 21 plate, so a couple of years old, but in excellent condition, really clean. Uh, it had everything you needed: gas, solar panels, but for charging the battery and things like that. So you could go off grid if you wanted. Water tank for fresh water. As I said, shower, toilet facilities, water heaters, air conditioning, heating as well. So you could use either the gas supply or hook up to electric as well, which gave you that kind of versatility. Yeah, definitely. If you're in around the kind of central Scotland area, then Lux Motorhomes is definitely something, one that you should look into if you're looking at a camper van. Family run business, and to be honest, they will probably book again with them because they were excellent. So the whole, I mean, a bit of history about the trip. The whole trip kind of came about because Donna had bought Caitlin and myself tickets for the Harry Potter train, which runs from Fort William to Mallaig across the Glenfinnan viaduct. So it's a steam train. Takes you out from Fort William station. Takes you across out over Glenfinnan viaduct. Stops at Glenfinnan station. You can go off, stretch your legs. There's a wee museum. Spend, I think, probably about 20 minutes, 30 minutes there, and then off to Mallaig. So we were going up to do that. That was on the Sunday. The plan was always to go up on the Saturday, stay overnight, and then do the trip, the Harry Potter train on the Sunday. We then started thinking, well, we'll be up there anyway, so why don't we just kind of do a trip round about the north of Scotland, just to see what's, just to explore a wee bit more of Scotland. So we, as I say, we booked hotel rooms, and the nearer we got to the trip, we decided that we would look into the camper van, and that's how we ended up on Lux Motorhomes and booking a camper van. So we collected that on the Friday night, or the Friday afternoon, and about Friday tea time, we left Grangemouth where we stay, and we headed for Glencoe, where we were going to stay the first night. So instead of going the normal route, which normal people would take, which is down to kind of Balloch and up Loch Lomond to to Crean Larach that way. For some strange reason I thought I'll head for Perth, and it took a wee bit longer. We got there in the end, but definitely took a wee bit longer. So added an hour or two onto the trip. We got to Glencoe after dark. Parked up, no problems at all. There was a lot of camper vans there. It seems to be, when you're in the off season, it's a donation system. So there's a donation box for your, just to put a donation in for staying in the car park. So that's what we done, and we got up the next morning, very cold. It's probably about -5 that morning, so not a great start to the trip, but it wasn't raining, it was dry. Beautiful scenery in front of us, and we made use of the Glencoe Visitor Centre and had our breakfast. Recommend it to anybody. If you're in that neck of the woods, then definitely use it. It was a good breakfast, and pretty reasonable, to be fair. Not an awful lot round about there if you're not skiing, but the scenery was fantastic. So we then headed up to Fort William. We were staying overnight in the Garrison Hotel in Fort William. I've put a video with room tour on the channel, so you can go in and see that. It was excellent. If you're staying in Fort William, I recommend the Garrison Hotel. It was really nice, quite modern, quite quirky, pretty central. You know, you were a couple of minutes for the centre of town, and definitely worth looking at if you're staying at Fort William. So as I say, we went up on the Saturday, and we're at a loose end, so we decided to go out on the cruise, which is Loch Linnhe, the loch that Fort William sits on. 2-hour cruise. I think it was about £27 each, but 2 hours out in the boat, very informative. Take you around the loch, take you around to the Caledonian Canal where it begins, just at the other side of the loch. Show you the kind of main industries in Fort William. There's a big there's fish farms, there's a big timber mill that provides a lot of wood chips for the biomass industry, mussel farming, etc. And then took us down further into the loch where there's an island in the middle where the seals kind of go during the day and rest up and digest their breakfast and things like that. So that's really good. If it's very quiet, you get to see quite a lot of seals. Plus you're also looking back at Fort William from a different perspective as well, and seeing Ben Nevis behind it from a different perspective. So definitely worth it. If you're at loose end in Fort William, then definitely go on the Loch Linnhe cruises, and I'll drop a link down at the bottom here just to keep you right as to what the cruise is. So that was the Saturday. As I say, Sunday we done the Glenfinnan train out to Mallaig, and we came back. That took us back to Fort William about 4:30, and we got on our way towards Inverness. So the first night, the thought process was that we were going to head up to the start of Loch Ness, and we would probably find somewhere to park up and sleep overnight, and then head up further the next day. But when we got to Loch Ness, beautiful sunshine, it was a lovely night. We weren't tired. We thought, right, we'll just keep going for as long as we can until we feel that we're tired and we want to stop. So that first night we went past Inverness. We ended up at Dornoch. There are a couple of campsites. There's Granny's Healing Hame, and where we ended up, the Dornoch campsite, which is right next to the golf course. Fantastic. You know, we hadn't booked. We turned up on the night. We drove right up, and on the door of the office was a mobile phone number. Phoned it. One of the wardens came up. It's a husband and wife. The wife came along, booked us in, and we were through that process probably 15 minutes, and parked up, hooked up, and right next to a shower block. We had full use of the facilities, washing. We could fill up the van. use the shower facilities, toilet facilities, etc. And I think that was about £29.50 for the night, so definitely worth it. Really nice, really clean, very quiet, and yeah, definitely will recommend it. And I'll drop a link just to keep you right down below. Next morning we were up early, see the sunrise, beautiful. It's just a lovely place, especially when you get the weather. The weather was fantastic, and we got off on the road early and we headed for John O'Groats. So straight up the kind of the northeastern coast of Scotland, through Wick, right up to John O'Groats. Now, as I say, we were early April. John O'Groats, really not an awful lot at John O'Groats. A couple of restaurants, a couple of cafes, they hadn't really opened for the season. Souvenir shops were open, but realistically we were only there so that we could take some selfies with the signpost at John O'Groats. Done that, got a couple of souvenirs, and headed to Thurso for lunch. So Thurso is further along the northern coast, headed into Thurso for a couple of hours, had a wander about the main street, had a bit of lunch, and then decided to carry on towards, Donna had looked up that she wanted to go to Smoo Cave. So Smoo Cave is further along the northern coast of Scotland. On that point, we could have filled the van at Thurso, but we chose to carry on. We ended up in a place, Betty Hill. Not an awful lot of places to fill the van in that area, so if you find yourself in Thurso, I would take advantage of it and fill the van, or head for Betty Hill. It's probably the only other place along that route where there's a fueling stop. So we ended up at Smoo Cave. Smoo Cave's a natural inlet in the coast. They used to bring in fishing boats, etc. into that point, but the water has kind of created a natural cavern in there's caves, etc. So there's an organised tour that you can go on where you can go into the kind of lower caves and the kind of tighter ones with an organised guide, or you can just walk down. There's a staircase down to the kind of the floor of the cave and kind of wander into the bigger ones and see there's a bit of waterfall and things like that. Very nice, definitely worth it if you're in that neck of the woods. Definitely recommend it. Some great views. Took some pictures. I think we put a video on your channel, so if you want to see Smoo Cave and you think they're doing it, then have a wee look. It'll give you an idea of what you're dealing with. So it was early when we finished with Smoo Cave. It was probably late afternoon, and we hadn't made any plans. So Donna was desperate to get round to Achmelvik, and we thought, well, it's a lovely night. Let's head for Achmelvik. So we headed round, a bit of a drive, probably another couple of hours, but definitely recommend heading for Achmelvik. That road, especially when you're going in that direction, when you're coming across from the east to the west and coming down for the north, the scenery as you go down that road opens out in front of you. It's absolutely stunning. Definitely recommend doing it in that direction. As I say, some of the things that we've seen that night were just absolutely amazing. Just opening up in front of you. And then we decided to head for speed. We decided to head along the Drumbeg Road. Now, Drumbeg Road is quite a difficult road. As I say, we were in a adventure van. It was the bigger one, so it was 6.4 metres long. And Drumbeg Road is quite tight. It's single track, passing places. Not for the nervous driver, not for the inexperienced driver, but we wanted to see the sunset at Achmelvik, so we cracked along the Drumbeg Road, and to be fair, it was fine, as long as you're sensible. Take your time, use the passing places properly, let people pass from behind, and keep your eyes on the horizon to see who's coming in front of you. you shouldn't have any issues at all. It's tricky, it's tight, some hairpin bends, and you know it's tight with kind of drops at the side of the road and things like that. But realistically, if you're sensible, then it's not an issue. And as I say, we headed round to Achmelvik, got to Achmelvik, perfect timing, parked up, and the most beautiful sunset at Achmelvik Beach. So Achmelvik Beach, if you've never seen it, white sands, turquoise, clear blue seas, absolutely gorgeous. Just nobody there, very very quiet. We parked up, we walked down onto the beach, and I think there was one other person at the other end of the beach who was camping, doing a bit of fishing, and we ended up chatting to him, and he was saying that the sand is carried over for the Gulf on the Gulf Stream from the Caribbean. That's why it's so white. And if you, honestly, if you didn't know you were in Scotland, you could be anywhere in the world. It was absolutely amazing. The sun was glorious. The sunset was amazing. Yeah, we so that was fine. Watched the sunset. Headed down to the campsite. Probably got there about 8:20, and unfortunately they'd stopped taking bookings at 8 o'clock. Okay, you know that's just one of these things. We hadn't booked it. It's our fault for not booking, I suppose. And we were directed to another bit where a guy is obviously got a bit of land and is building a wee kind of campsite. He's in the process of building a shower block and toilet block, etc. And to be fair, fitted our purpose. We were quite happy. We were off grid. We just used the van zone facilities. Never had any issues at all. So, aye, definitely. I think we were £20 for that place. Ideal. You know, we were only there to see the sunset, stay overnight, get on the road again the next day. So, definitely worth it. If you're heading in, if you're doing the NC500, then seriously consider looking at Achmelvik. It's definitely worth it. Amazing, and you'll be kicking yourself if you don't head that way. Next day, so the other thing, while I remember about Achmelvik, there's no phone signal at Achmelvik. Well, very limited. So there's certain places that you can get a phone signal, but very very limited. So we couldn't get a signal at all. Donna headed out and found a wee spot where she could get a signal, and managed to send a message to Caitlin just to say that we were alive and well and still going, just to keep her posted about what was happening. But yeah, so to that end, because we didn't have a phone signal, we also had a book with us. It's one of the Robbie Rome's books, the NC500 adventure book. So we used that to plan quite a bit of the journey. We'd used that prior to starting the journey, and we went back to that book when we couldn't get a phone signal, and we started to look at potentially where the next night and the next night were going to be. So Donna had wanted to go to Applecross, so that was always on our plans. So we decided to break it up by going to Gairloch, and that was where we headed for. So when we left Achmelvik the next morning, we headed for Ullapool. Ended up at Ullapool about lunchtime. Had a bit of lunch in Ullapool. Really nice. There was a beautiful campsite as well, which we didn't know about, right on the waterfront. Probably if we knew about it, we would have headed there. But as I say, we'd already booked in. As soon as we got a phone signal, we booked into Gairloch. We didn't want a repeat of the previous evening. So as soon as we got a phone signal, we booked into Gairloch, and we had lunch in Ullapool. It was lovely, and we headed for Gairloch. We booked into the Gairloch caravan park. Excellent, you know, really. I think we paid an extra fiver for a sea view. Again, it was busy, but not overly busy, and very very quiet. So it was well worth it, and highly recommend it if you're heading in that direction. Gairloch, as I say, we packed up, we hooked up for a wee bit. We decided that we were going to go and see the sights, so obviously we were in the van, so we unhooked from the electric hookup. We went round, done a bit of touring, seen a couple of sights, went to the War Memorial, had a wee look at that. You'll see it on the channel, there's a video about it on the channel. There's a 9-hole golf course that looks fantastic. Never played it, but definitely if we're in that neck of the woods again, I'll be taking the clubs with me and having a crack at it. So definitely worth it. And apparently the food at the clubhouse is excellent as well. So unfortunately for us, it was just closing. So we went down onto the beach, had a wander about the beach. Again, another beautiful beach, definitely worth going to if you've got the weather. White sands, beautiful, absolutely stunning scenery. And we headed back up to Gairloch and the Myrtle Hotel where we had dinner. I had fish, I had fish and chips, Donna had scampi. Realistically, it obviously just came off the boat that morning, that day. It was beautiful, absolutely amazing. Definitely recommend it. If you're in Gairloch, then head to the Myrtle. I'll put a link in down below just to keep you right as to where it is. And so that was us. So Gairloch, we then watched the sunset at Gairloch again. It was just a week of beautiful sunsets. Every day was fantastic, and I think we've got a video on the channel of the sunset at Gairloch as well. So the next morning we were heading for Applecross. We were going to stay at Applecross that night. So we had two options. One, we could head down the coast road to Applecross, or you go across the Balachnaba road. Balachnaba takes you up the mountainside, single track, quite challenging, very famous road in Scotland. Takes you up to about 2,500 feet. Hairpin bends, switchbacks, not for the faint-hearted. Donna wasn't keen, so we decided to bypass the Balachnaba. We headed through Kisshorn to Strathcarron and onwards to Eilean. So Eilean is a castle on the west coast of Scotland. Ancestral home of the McKenzies. My ancestral home, I'm a McKenzie. Now in the hands of a family of McRae's. So quite an interesting thing. So you can go along car park, there's a visitor centre. I think you can go across to the castle for nothing and do the grounds, kind of wander about the grounds. A lot of photograph opportunities and things like that. It's £14 to go into the castle, so we paid the £14 each. Very interesting. A lot of basically it was kind of told you the story of the McKenzies and the McRae's and the interconnection between the two clans. And as I say, the castle's owned by a family of McRae's who have obviously they use it from now and then for family get-togethers and things like that, but also they've donated a lot of their family heirlooms and pictures, etc., to support the rooms and the tour. So a lot of stuff, a lot of history, really good. There's a video on the channel if you're interested. Definitely worth looking at, and definitely worth going to if you're in that neck of the woods. We had lunch there as well. As I said, there's a visitor centre, there's a restaurant and a souvenir place. Really nice. The food was fantastic. I ended up with a steak pie. Donna had a butter chicken curry. Really good. Well worth it. Good value for money, and definitely recommend if you're there, have lunch, have something to eat. It's worth it. So by this time we were heading back towards Applecross, and we'd plucked up the courage to do Black in the Bar, and honestly, it needs courage to do Black in the Bar. There's a big sign telling you that you shouldn't be taking, you really shouldn't take motorhomes. It's not a road for nervous drivers, new drivers. Uh, as I say, we weren't in a motorhome, we were in a van conversion. So we decided to head up the turning circle on the van. I'd already checked it out. The turning circle on the van was fantastic. I wouldn't recommend taking a purpose-built motorhome over it. But definitely, if you've got an adventure van, then it should be no problem at all. Again, I mean, it's the same as the Drumbeck Road. Take your time. Watch what's coming in front of you. Don't just look at the bonnet of the car. Just keep your head up. Keep looking in front of you. Stop. Let people past you. Don't rush. If you see something coming, then pull in. Let them past in good time. And the biggest problem with the Black and the Bar was the cyclists, and I mean it's no fault of the cyclists. You know, they've got a right to be there as well. It's the thing, mate. It's because they slow you down. You lose your momentum, and it's difficult to pass them. You know, you've either got to judge it so that you're passing them just as they cycle past a passing place, because realistically they don't want to stop either because they lose their momentum. So you're either waiting till they're passing a passing place and then go past them, or you're kind of squeezing past them. And it's just the nature of it, you know. There's nothing you can do. You've got to keep either that, or you end up just backing up the road behind you, and everybody would be waiting for ages, and it would become a nightmare. So you've just got to go for it, and pass them where you can. Definitely something the authorities really should think about, and potentially limit the usage or change the times, so like give cyclists a set time to be using the road, and keep cars and motorbikes etc. off the road while they do it. It's something to think about, you know. Give them the freedom of the road between a certain time, and then let cars and motorbikes etc. just use it out with those hours. But again, it'd probably be safer if they did. But once you get to the top, as I say, it's tricky switchbacks and tight bends and sheer drops, and you know it is nerve wracking. But once you get to the top, there's a wee car park and absolutely amazing views over towards Skye, I believe. And there's a map showing you all the mountains that's in front of you, so you can identify them. Really stunning. There's some pictures on our channel if you're interested. Have a wee look. And then we got on the road again and headed down into Applecross. We'd already booked Applecross campsite, and I'll put a link in down below for you. But definitely, Applecross, there's not a lot to do. If you plan on going to Applecross and you plan on eating out, then definitely book it early. There's only one bar, and when we headed down they were fully booked. So definitely book early. Get your reservation made, or the only options, I think there's a wee shop further along the road, or there's a takeaway place that's part of the bar. They do fish and chips, or they do kind of salads, or they've got salads on the menu. So Donna fancied a crab salad, but unfortunately we were told that the fishing boats hadn't been catching enough crab, so crab was off the menu. So poor Donna never got a salad. I had fish and chips again, and to be honest, I think it was about £12.50, £13 for a fish supper. The fish was fantastic, but it was frozen chips, so I think pretty poor, to be honest. If you're paying £13 for a fish supper, you should go the extra mile and make handmade chips. But fish was lovely, you know, and the chips were fine. You know, they were frozen chips. You can't go wrong. But I think for £13 you should be getting handmade chips as well. So a bit poor on their part. Definitely something they should think about. Campsite was fantastic, very quiet. As I say, a lot of bikers. They've got glamping pods. They've got bits for tents, and obviously they've got hard stands for uh, camper fans and things. So really, I mean, I think it's the only option in Applecross, to be fair, but definitely worth it. I'll put a link in so that you can see, you can look for yourself. Definitely worth it. I think again it was about £25 to £30 for the night. Full use of their facilities, fill up the van, etc., and hook up overnight to charge the battery and use their power. So, definitely. I mean, again, another fantastic sunset. I think we've got some videos, etc., on our channel, so have a wee look if you're interested. And then we headed round the coast road to head back towards Inverness. So this was the final day. We left Applecross, we headed round the coast road. The coast road was the easy bit, allegedly, but there's some tricky bits on the coast road as well, some really tight wee bits. Definitely lovely, beautiful views right on the coast, and sea views, etc. And headed for Shield Egg. Shield Egg, we stopped off for breakfast. There's a place, Nanny's, which is fantastic. Definitely worth stopping off if you're having lunch or breakfast. Get to Shield Egg, use Nanny's. I'll put the link in so that you know. You can have a look yourself at the menu, etc. Does some souvenirs as well. Food was fantastic, really reasonable. Definitely worth heading there. So we left Shield Egg, and we headed for Inverness to complete the NC500. While we were around Inverness, we were up to Culloden Moor. Culloden Moor is the site of a famous battle between the Jacobite army of Bonnie Prince Charlie and government forces, Crown forces. Can't say the English because there was Scottish and Irish and other nationalities all fighting on the side of the Crown. So big car park, visitor centre. We went in and paid, I think it was £10 each to go through the visitor centre. There's a museum which tells the story about Bonnie Prince Charlie and how he came back to Scotland and raised the Jacobite army and then fought his way down through England. I think he got as far down as Oxford, and then turned back and headed back for Scotland because I think the winter was setting in, and they felt that it was the prudent thing to do to head back to Scotland and recuperate his army before heading back into England. So that's how he ended up back in Scotland, and then obviously the Crown forces came up to Culloden to meet him on the battlefield. So it's quite an interesting thing. Tells you the story on both sides, how it came about, and the kind of repercussions after the fact. And then when you go out onto the battlefield, it's still, I mean, there's a lot of graves still. There's a lot of bodies still buried on the battlefield. A lot of headstones showing you where clans were found to be buried, etc. So when you leave this visitor centre, you'll see a row of red flags that shows you where the government Crown forces were. That's their lines, and then in the distance, in the far distance, there is a set of blue flags which shows you where the Jacobite army was. Jacobite army charged across the battlefield to meet the Crown forces, but the weather played a big part that day. The left flank of the Jacobite army ended up bogged down with heavy mud, so the Crown forces took advantage and attacked and broke through the right flank before circling round and attacking the bogged down part of the Jacobite army as well. So this caused Jacobite army to break apart and start to flee, and then obviously were routed off the battlefield. Bonnie Prince Charlie then went into hiding in Scotland. Famous story of dressing as a woman to be rescued and to make his escape from Skye, I think, and then headed back to France. Never to be a force to be reckoned with again after that fact. Don't think he ever set foot in Scotland after that either. So definitely worth going to. Really, there's lots to do, lots to see if you get the weather. As I say, it was £10 each to go into the museum, but to actually walk on the battlefield is free. So if you don't want to do the museum part, you can still go onto the battlefield. It's free. You'll see there's plaques, etc. There's lots to read and understand the battlefield. And again, there's a wee cafe that looks quite nice as well. Visit, and a souvenir shop. So lots to do at Culloden. Definitely worth heading for. So that was that. That was us finished. We headed for home that night. Again, straight road, straight down the A9 to Perth, and then down to Stirling, and then into Grangemouth. So never had any issues. All in all, I mean, it was a fantastic trip. We got the weather. You know, the weather was absolutely amazing that whole week. Started off as cold, but dry but cold in Glencoe, and then as we went through the week, the weather was absolutely stunning. So it's made us think that we'll do it again. There's a lot of places in Scotland to see. There's a lot of things to do. Donna's got 2 dogs, so the likelihood is that the next time we do it, we'll take the girls with us and see how we get on. But definitely worth it. If you've thought about it, I would say do it. As I say, we get the weather, so it was fantastic. You could sit out and all that kind of stuff. Different ball game altogether if it's raining and you can't get out and about. But aye, definitely worth trying. If you've thought about it, give it a go. We'll probably do it again. Likelihood is we'll try and see more of Scotland. There's a lot of Scotland we've not seen, which is a shame considering we live here. So there's lots of the country that we want to see. The other part is, Northern Ireland is very close. Ireland, the Republic, and then down into England and Wales. You know, there's a lot of the country we want to see. So yeah, it's something we'll definitely be doing again, and we'll definitely be vlogging it. So if you like what we do, then please subscribe, hit the like button. It lets us know what you like, what videos you like. We'll just carry on doing what we normally do, dog walks, and we might do some food reviews and things like that. But when we're going away, we always like to, even if it's just for our own memories, we like to take videos. We like to we'll post them for everybody else to watch, but really it's just to keep ourselves our own memories as well, and if there's anything interesting for other people. So as I say, if you like what we do, then please subscribe, hit the like button, let us know that you like it, and hit the notification button so that you can see any future videos that we put on. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. It's just a quick wash up, and I hope it's giving you some ideas. I'll drop a link in for Robbie Rome's book as well, just now, just so that you can see it. And if you're interested in buying it, then it's definitely worthwhile. So thanks very much, and hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you. Bye.